Alright guys, 16 days till we head to Montana. We're out doing the ski hill again. My goal is to do it once a week here for this final month. I'm already putting a ton of miles in. I did find, first time I did this, my hips, front of my shins were a little sore, but the rest of me felt good, so I'm in pretty good shape actually. It's a 188-foot climb to the top. We turn around, go back down, and do up and down a few different times, so I'm gonna keep at it. But we're getting pumped for November 1st. Day one, we just killed a buck. Oh, I don't believe this. I don't believe this. Look at this over here. My dad's walking back there. Look at this country. Look at this country. We left home at 4 o'clock yesterday. Pointed the truck west. 12 and a half hours later, we were pulling into park at our spot. We threw the cots up. We got about 2 hours of sleep. And we came into this area that I've just scouted on Onyx. I've never been here before. The other side of the river where we've been hunting the last 2 years got shut down to the general season. It's a limited draw area. So we said, well, we're just gonna come to the same spot and we're gonna go on the other side of the river. And we drove up this stuff that it is steep. It's kind of crazy for a Minnesota boy to be driving his pickup truck down some of this stuff. But we came across a giant up here this morning. We crept over that hill, he wasn't there. The wind was not good. So I told my dad, I'm gonna drop down, I'm gonna walk this ridge this way, because he's gotta be down here. And my dad shoots once. And I run up over this ridge, and there the buck is standing. And I pull up and I shoot, and we shot simultaneously. Like as I shot, I heard his shot, whoop, whoop, echo, and the buck dropped. So I don't know who hit him. I don't know if I hit him. I don't know if my dad hit him. We both shot at him. He's laying there dead. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know whose buck it's gonna be. I don't know who's gonna tag it, but man, we did it together, and he hasn't moved. He's laying there dead. Get over and see this buck. This is why I was walking the ski hill back home. This stuff is so steep you can barely walk down it without just sliding down on your butt. But that buck is laying on top of this ridge, so we're gonna do it anyway. Well, that is exactly why you come to Montana. Look at that stud. Unreal. That's a trophy. Man, does he stink too. What a buck. I was over on that ridge. My dad was way back on that ridge. Oh my gosh, first day out here. 2 hours of sleep. 12 and a half hours of driving. I worked an entire day yesterday. I left work and drove the entire night to get here today. And this is the only mule deer we've seen all day. Saw a bunch of whitetail, saw a bunch of elk. One mule deer, and it was worth it. We crept over the hill and he wasn't here, but it's just a big deep ravine. So my dad sat up there at about 250 yards, and I dropped down over the ridge and came around him. If he was down here, he was gonna smell me for sure. And it didn't take long, 30 seconds, 45 seconds before my dad fired a shot. And I sprinted up over the hill. He was standing right here. I got on him and I shot, and he dropped, and I heard my dad's echo of his shot, literally fired simultaneously. And that slug is lodged right up here under his hide. So we're gonna get in there, we're gonna pull the slug, we're gonna see whose it is, but fact of the matter is it doesn't matter. We got a big 4x4 muley, and we still have an entire week of hunting, so it's gonna be a great week regardless of how the rest of the week goes. But day one in Montana, about 2 hours of sleep, 12 and a half hours of driving, and we got a buck on the ground day one. Did pull that slug out of there, and 6.5 Creedmoor slides right onto the end of that slug. So it does look like it is my buck. I tagged it, tags on it. My dad shoots a 300 Win mag, so his bullet's definitely a shouldn't fit inside of my 6.5, I don't think, but that's what we're here for. Whew. I did not think chops, the neck, and the cape and the head would be that heavy. But holy moly, that's a lot of weight. Got to give props to the elk guys who go pack out a 1,000-pound animal. Oh man. I said I wanted to enjoy this hunt a little bit. I didn't want to come out here and just tag out and be done on the first day. I did that last year and shot a pretty nice whitetail, but told myself it's gonna have to be a really nice buck to shoot on the first day. And considering this is my second mule deer, just a school teacher from Minnesota on a do-it-yourself hunt with my dad, I never expected we'd shoot a buck like this on the first day. And the fact that we both got to be involved on the stalk, we both got to shoot, just makes it that much better. We did dig that slug out, hit him a little high, hit him right through the top of the shoulder blade, broke the spine, and the bullet lodged in his neck. And I was under 200 yards. I was about 165, 175 yards approximately. My dad was back 250, 260, so he had a little tougher shot at that thing. But man, we got a full week out here and we're halfway done on day one. Also shot 2 sharp-tail this morning. I need to get the Tacticam put on my gun because I didn't have that even set up yet. So more action to come, I hope. And I think I said it when I was coming up this hill to come find this buck. This is why I went to the ski hill. This is why I was going once a week for the last month, is so that I could do stuff like this, not have to worry about where we shoot that deer, knowing I can get that deer out. That's a really nice peace of mind to have if you're gonna come out here, but I'm breathing hard, I'll tell you that much. See you at the truck. All right, here we go with load number 2. Tip for you. Make sure you bone those hindquarters. I didn't bone the front shoulders out. They're a little more work to bone. Hindquarters are so easy to remove those hams. Takes a lot of the weight off. So I'm gonna get this entire buck out in 2 loads. There's a pretty sight. Almost to the truck. Hey guys, figure I might as well close out our video here. From this type of a backdrop, it's pretty amazing. Sun's getting low in the sky up here, and I'm up walking this really flat area up here, grassy spot for sharptail, but I haven't flushed any yet, so maybe it's more of a morning spot. I don't know a thing about sharptail. I did shoot a couple the first day when we were driving in. We'd see them running, get up and flush them, and it was kind of cool. I've never shot a sharptail before, so I got my first 2 sharptail ever this trip. Also shot my biggest mule deer I've ever shot. I want to touch a little bit because I really didn't talk a lot about it. I kind of mentioned it. We found several errors on Onyx while we were out here. And I'll tell you, number one, I had read into it. I had looked into the BMAs before coming out here, and I knew that on one side of the river, it was all type 1. Type 1, all you got to do is sign in, and you get to go hunt. The other side of the river is all type 2. Now, those are available for the public to hunt, but you have to call ahead, and you have to get written permission to hunt the type 2 stuff. And so I know the ranch, it's the same number, it's the same BMA number, same ranch, but one side of the river is type 1, one side of the river is type 2, and it very clearly says that when you go on the website. And we get out here on Onyx, and everything over there was showing type 1. I actually got out at one of the green boxes, filled out a slip, and then read on there and said, oh geez, written permission only. So wasted our time doing that. But Onyx had it wrong. And then we go further up the hill, and we get this stuff that it's BML, which is Montana government lands. That's open to the public. But then it was also overlaid with the red dots, and it said BMA type 2. And further north of there, there's the privately owned land. That's the BMA land. And Onyx had just way overdone it with that, and they had the map labeled as 2 different kinds. BML and BMA, and the BML is all open to public. So we ended up running into the guy from Montana Fish and Game. He was checking the green boxes, and this was 2 hours after we had seen that buck, watched him go over the hill, and we assumed he bedded. And showed him on Onyx, and he said, yeah, you know what, Onyx is kind of confusing. I don't know why it says that. It's public land. You can hunt it. So we went back up 2 hours later, and we ended up killing that buck, and he was bedded down within about 300 yards, 250 yards of where we last saw him. So that was super awesome. It worked out just amazing. Both me and my dad got shooting at it. Luckily the slug was just right under the hide where it would have exited, and that was the 6.5 Creedmoor, which is what I'm shooting out here. My dad's got his 300 short mag, so we were able to determine at least who shot the deer, and that was the only bullet hole in the deer. And then my dad here shot a smaller buck this morning. And like I said, we got potential rain tonight, and then tomorrow 30-mile-an-hour winds and snow. So we need to get out of this country and at the very least get to the blacktop. And we're tagged out, so we can do that without worrying about having to fight the weather. We also hiked a couple miles this morning, and for my dad, who's almost 70, that's a lot of work to get off in this country and hike a couple of miles. So the fact that we hiked a couple miles, we were on our way back to the truck, and we spotted that buck. It was a good opportunity to take that buck, even though it was smaller. But I can tell you that the first year we were out here, this valley behind me was full of deer. We saw deer every time we went out. Every morning I'd go sit, I had a vantage point, and I'd see, around a dozen deer. And then you'd walk out and you'd drive around, you'd see more deer. This entire valley was full of deer. The fields down by the river, some of those fields would have 50 plus whitetail on them every night. Granted, we weren't seeing big bucks on the fields, but we got struck with some pretty bad weather. That was back in 2020. Our first day was beautiful, cold, and then it climbed up into the 70s, and then it even topped 80 one day that we were out here, and that just shut the deer movement down. We were still seeing deer, but a lot of small bucks, ton of does. And we both shot smaller bucks then. After that far ridge over there, I saw just a giant on the first morning. My dad got on him the second morning because he was relatively close to the road. It made for a really fun hunt either way. It was our first time ever coming, first time for me ever coming west. My dad had been out a couple times, but 2021 was horrendous droughts, and when we were out here in 2022, it had taken a toll. There were very few deer. I was really hoping those numbers would have recovered some by now. But honestly, we did not see much for deer this trip. A ton of elk. Everything's on private, right on the river, and they're not leaving that private. Ton of Miriam turkeys, same thing, everything on private, right by the river. We saw some mule deer on the river. We saw some whitetails. Saw a 6-point whitetail with a doe last night that we could have shot, but it just wasn't that big. So we did see some deer, but the numbers are way down. So, you know, hopefully next time around, hopefully I can draw tags in a couple of years, and you know, maybe those numbers are going to be back up again. But the report from this year is not a ton of deer in this area. You know, maybe we need to stay further east, or maybe we need to go all the way out to the mountains. I don't know. We're kind of right on the verge where when it's clear you can see the mountains on the horizon, but we're not quite there yet. But it's still getting to be pretty, I don't know, rugged land for a Minnesota guy who's used to flat land. So anyway, successful deer hunt 2024, biggest mule deer buck I've ever shot. And I guess we have, what, 5 days until opener firearms back in Minnesota, deer hunting. All right, probably see you then. Oh, made it to the blacktop just before the rain started, so now we got a long drive home.